So I just got done watching Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I don't exactly know what I'm going to title this video because I don't know if this is going to be just a review of the movie. By the way, though, if you guys have not seen the movie, I would recommend you don't watch this video because I am going to be spoiling the hell out of it. I just don't know if this is going to be like a movie review. This might just be more of like a Hollywood movie in general, kind of like the end of an era type movie. Like I just have a lot of thoughts. So if you guys have not seen the movie, I do recommend people go watch it. It's definitely watchable in a really bittersweet kind of way. But yeah, spoiler alert. So if you guys don't want spoilers, end the video now. But if you do want spoilers, or you don't care, or you've already seen the movie, stick around. By the way, my name is Joey. This is the Jigsaw 0097 channel, where I give my thoughts, peace of my mind. If you guys like that content, please consider subscribing if you're new. Like the video, comment down below. Really appreciate the support. So yeah, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I don't really know the overall plan for these movies, but I remember, I think it was in 2023. It's either 2022 or 2023 when Dead Reckoning came out. And when that one came out, they did subtitle it Part 1. So they were implying that it was going to be a multi-parter. They since dropped that. That's why this is kind of weird. So they dropped the Part 1 thing, and now it's just called Dead Reckoning, and then this one's called The Final Reckoning. And this was back when COVID and all that stuff was happening, the lockdowns. I still don't think theaters will ever recover. Neither will Hollywood, but that's also what I'm going to talk about in this video. I don't think it's actually COVID. It's just Hollywood in general. This probably will end up being more of a Hollywood movie, but this is a perfect movie to illustrate why. And again, if you guys have seen the movie, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. So all the plans, whatever designs they had for this franchise, I think it was all kind of changed because, you know, usually they do like another trilogy. Like I actually thought Mission Impossible would probably end at like a 9th movie, so they could do like 3 trilogies, right? Like you got the first 3, and then you got the, 5, 6, and 7 are very much connected. Those movies are the most connected of the franchise, I think. But then you have this Dead Reckoning that deals with AI, and it does deal with cool themes, as well as Hollywood can. But yeah. So yeah, I've given you my thoughts on that, the plan. And it definitely affected this movie. I think it is the worst movie of the franchise, but I don't think any of the movies in the Mission Impossible franchise are necessarily like masterpiece movies anyway. They're more like they are what they are, and they're all very solid, mostly because just Tom Cruise is, I always call him like he's an American treasure. I don't think I've ever said on this channel, but Tom Cruise is my favorite actor of all time. Dating back to when I was very young and I saw The Last Samurai. That set me on the path of like watching Tom Cruise, and I've pretty much seen every movie he's made. I think literally like 80% of the movies he's ever made are good to great, with only a few duds. Like you have The Mummy. That Mummy remake was really awful, and I really think that's the only one that I would say is like awful, because yeah, he's just solid. Tom Cruise is solid. I always say Last Samurai is my favorite movie of his, but I think that the best movie that he's actually ever been in, just an amazing performance, was the movie Collateral. If you guys have never seen Collateral, man, it's directed by Michael Mann, for one, who directed Heat, one of the greatest movies ever made. But you get that, Michael Mann, Tom Cruise, it's a absolute ride of a movie. So Tom Cruise, even though Last Samurai is my ultimate movie of his, just because I love that movie, I do recognize like his Vincent Hitman character in Collateral was just masterful. So yeah, just getting your guys's up to speed. Like I'm a huge Tom Cruise fan, so I'm not even making this video to hate or anything. Like I absolutely get excited. That's what I was gonna say. I don't think Top Gun is that good. I would consider Top Gun like a mediocre film franchise. I didn't even like the original one that much. That's one of the Tom Cruise movies that I've never understood why people like obsessed over it, because he's just done so many better movies, right? He's done like The Color of Money. If you guys have seen The Firm is like a really awesome movie. You know, he's done A Few Good Men. That's an awesome movie. You Can't Handle the Truth. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. You know, you got Jack Nicholson, Tom Cruise, amazing scenes. And then he just like went off from there, man. Tom Cruise, he's just a legend. He's like an absolute legend. He literally probably did have his peak in the 90s and 2000s. I'm also one of those guys, like I think Mission Impossible 2 is like, it's like one of the best Mission Impossibles. I probably would say, I don't know, Mission Impossible Fallout probably is the best one. That movie is just really well made. That movie, I always say, it's like the Mission Impossible movie where you feel like you're watching like a Christopher Nolan film, because it's just so awesome, and you have Henry Cavill in there. It was just a blast. But I just have this soft spot for Mission Impossible 2, and especially with COVID, guys, go back and watch Mission Impossible 2 again if you haven't in a while. The whole movie, that's something that's always been cool about these movies, especially when you go back and watch them again, is that they are predictive programming, and we'll get into that with this new one as well, because there was a lot. I haven't seen Dead Reckoning in a couple years, so I might need to watch that again, but I remember that one dealt a lot more with like the cryptocurrency type stuff than this one did. This one was more about like the AI. But yeah, all the Mission Impossible seem to have that. Like Mission Impossible 2 is all about a virus, right? This guy creates a virus, this pharmaceutical company creates a virus, and then this like terrorist guy is trying to like sell it literally to get rich. And watch it again. It's underrated. Mission Impossible 2, I will say it boldly here now, it is an underrated gem of a film. It's like John Wick mixed with Mission Impossible, because it's also the only movie directed by, I think, John Woo. I can't remember the director, but he's like one of those like special arts or special effects kung fu type directors. So it really has like, a lot of people call it cheesy, but it's just like a John Wick style of action. So yeah, I've given you guys my appreciation for the man, the legend, Tom Cruise, and now we'll get into the movie and Hollywood as well. Because before I get into the movie, like something that just struck me watching it, and this is almost 3-hour runtime, guys. This is the longest Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, I believe it's about 2 hours and 49 minutes. It's very long, and there was a lot in it, right? There's a lot of exposition. I agree with the critics. Like, there is a lot of wasted time in this movie. One thing that's annoying about modern films is that they almost like assume that you haven't seen the previous films, and so they have to just like throw a bunch of dialogue in there. It's like, you should just expect people to have seen Dead Reckoning and yada yada. Like, we live in an age now where if you want to watch all the movies in the Mission Impossible series, like, you can just go do that very easily. So the exposition should be even less in modern movies, but for some reason it's like every movie you feel like you're getting like a lecture about past events. And yeah, so I didn't like any of that, but like all the Tom Cruise stuff was great. There was a really funny scene in the beginning where he did this off camera. This is what made the scene funny, is him and the Haley Atwell character, the Captain America's girlfriend, was what I always call her. They were like in this like torture chamber, and they were going to get like interrogated. And anyway, they like break out, and they do this funny thing where it's just showing her face like getting disgusted because he's like brutally murdering these people off screen. And it's a well done scene. If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That scene I really liked. And then you had like the submarine and all that. But anyway, like what I was saying, like watching this movie, the reason I say it was bittersweet is because movies like this, they remind you of how good Hollywood was, but they also remind you of how bad Hollywood is now, and how it's just going to get even worse in the future. And in an even weird way, like why I wanted to pick this movie to talk about Hollywood is the villain is called the Entity, and it's like this AI, and there's almost like this meta narrative in the movie about how the internet is making everybody like stupid and paranoid, and you know, you can tell that the writers are clearly leftist, but the message kind of works both sides, if that makes sense. Again, it's in the most like cliched Hollywood way possible, so I'm not saying this is like masterful storytelling. Like they like drop like biblical things all over. That's another frustrating thing about Hollywood, is they always talk about God in like abstract ways, but like they'll never talk about God, if that makes sense. They'll never talk about Christianity or anything like that, because you know Hollywood is Jewish and they don't want to do that. So it's always this like liberalism and like, oh, the good of people. They did that a lot in this movie. Like we're good. It's kind of like if you watch The Dark Knight again, right? Like these, as you get older, you just kind of realize like there is no good without God. I guess if you don't have a presupposition for God, like how can you have any moral claims at all? And anyway, I'm not going to go into that in this video, but that's what movies tend to do, is they just like make these moral claims, but there's like no substantive value to them. It's like, why? What makes Ethan Hunt good? Like what makes Madam President, which by the way, that was the most cringe part of this movie, and I'm going to get into that separately. The Madam President thing was like very much in this movie, almost like the writers, when you can tell that they wrote this movie like probably 3 or 4 years ago, because I did read that they wrote Dead Reckoning as like an entire trilogy of films several years before, like probably 5 years ago was when they started, 5 or 6 maybe, when like right after Fallout came out in 2018. So they probably started writing this like before what happened, right? Trump and all that, Trump's second term and all that. You can tell they wrote it as if like, oh, Kamala's going to be president. That it literally was Kamala Harris in this movie. Like that's who the Madam President was. It was like they took Obama and mixed her with Kamala, and she's like all emotional, and it was the worst part of the movie by far. In fact, it didn't even bother me in Fallout, and it didn't bother me in Dead Reckoning because she was hardly in the movie. But in this movie, she's like a big part of it, and it was like taking me out of it every time they pulled it up. I mean, it wasn't like explicitly woke, like lecturing you, but it also was. It was just, again, this is the part of Hollywood that you can tell, like if this is the future of movies, like people are just not going to watch movies. It's a perfect example in this movie of like, you have an amazing action star like Tom Cruise propelling this film forward, but if you took out that element of Tom Cruise, this would be an extremely mediocre, probably actually just bad film. And so it was kind of depressing and like cathartic, and I don't know how to describe it. I just had all these weird feelings watching this film in the theater, and the theater was packed. I have not seen that in quite a while. Like again, it just attested to the bittersweetness of like, this is what an actor like Tom Cruise does. He brings people to the theaters, but how many actors are like Tom Cruise anymore, right? They're all getting really old now. Denzel Washington is really old, and Denzel Washington is kind of, he's like in really bad movies. And Leonardo DiCaprio, he's kind of done for me. Like, but they're all just getting old, and the movies are getting so political and so ideologically leftist is the only way I can say it, right? You can't make like movies like you even made in the 90s anymore. Like, if you made Rambo First Blood now, people would get like butthurt about that movie, right? So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And so the bittersweetness of it all is like, all the Tom Cruise stuff is great. If you guys go into this movie and you just want to watch like missions, you know, great mission scenes, and, you know, Tom Cruise doing crazy shit. Like, you're gonna love this because it's just like all the other ones. That's why I say I don't think any of the Mission Impossible movies are like masterpiece movies, but they're all just so good. It's like that's what I always tell people. Like, if you're gonna watch one, you got to watch them all. It's like they're like James Bond, you know. And it's really amazing too that Tom Cruise has done so many movies. Like, he's in ways this franchise has surpassed the Bond franchise because he's done 8 movies. Like, he's done more Ethan Hunt than any James Bond actor has done James Bond. So it's just really, really cool to see a master. That's all I can say about Cruise when it comes to his, you know, the way he makes movies. He's just a master craftsman at this. And there was some green screens in this one, you could tell. He's getting a little older, but he was still doing a lot of stuff. Like, another really cool scene was the submarine scene. That was, like, awesome. That reminded me of the skydive scene in Fallout, where they jump out of this in the beginning and they're going down to the nightclub. Very similar to that. You know, he's just kind of like flailing around, and you guys have seen the Mummy trick. You know, he's just doing his Tom Cruise thing, like flying around, and great. This is fantastic. But then there's the other side of the movie. This is why I think this is easily the worst movie in the franchise, because the other side is the typical lecturing, diversity, you know, forced leftism garbage that we see in like every movie now. And it's so blatantly cringe now that it's like, it's impossible to ignore it. So I'm going to give several examples. That's kind of what I was leading into on this part. As I said, the Madam President is the most cringe part of the movie. They have several scenes where she's giving like these impassioned speeches. And if you guys have been watching my channel for the past videos, you already know my opinions on feminism and the woman question. So you probably already know what I'm going to say here. But yeah, it's like so forced. It's the black whammon, right? It's like, we got to have Obama, but now we got to have a whammon. And I think this was the whole plan with Kamala. That's why, obviously, the 2020 election was rigged. They got Biden in, but none of that went according to plan, right? COVID, I don't even think COVID went according to plan. So all of their plans kind of failed. And that's what's funny about this movie's plot, too. This movie's plot is kind of about this thing called the Entity and how it's like planning on controlling everyone, and like all of its plans fail. So it's a very weird movie because the plot is kind of about the leftist party in a way, but then the movie still is like pushing all of this leftist stuff as if they're winning like any kind of culture war or anything. Oops, sorry about that. They really only have Hollywood at this point. That's what I was realizing. It's like they have Hollywood, and that's it, because even Trump kind of supports Hollywood still. So like Hollywood's the only thing where they can still get away with this forced crap. So the Madam President, very, very bad. And this is where I'm going to get into like heavy spoilers. Very bad. They have like a whole arc with her. I know she was in the previous movies, but I don't think she was the president. I think she was in Dead Reckoning, but she was in Fallout. She was the one that assigned Henry Cavill to like watch Ethan, because she didn't trust him. But I don't think she was the president in that movie. I think she was just like in the government. Another character in this one too is her aide. She always, whenever she goes to her aide, they literally made her look like Hillary Clinton. So you have like Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. She's like, there's all these like men. They do this in movies in general now, but it's always the men, right? The men are always the ones freaking out now. They're like, oh my gosh, the whole world's going to get blown up. You got to do this. You got to do that, blah, blah, blah. And it's specifically always like white men, right? And, you know, the women are the cool ones. So in this movie, it's Madam President and her Hillary Clinton aide. And then there's even this other woman, this blonde woman that they send Ethan to. There's just a lot of feminist crap is what I'm getting at. A lot of, you know, yes, madam, yes, ma'am. A lot of like that. A lot of the whole you know, DEI thing as well. And when they show like random civilians, random soldiers, they're always zooming in and it's like a black person. There's even the scene where he jumps into the ice. 2 women pilots. So like you can absolutely tell that they wrote this movie like 4 years ago, because it's pushing the agenda. So I think a lot of this was salvaged by Tom Cruise. Like, that's why I think this movie felt so weird, is because they probably had extensive rewrites. There was a lot that they had to take to the cutting room floor. But yeah, I won't go like into that completely. If you guys have seen the movie, you'll know what I'm saying. Like, every single scene has some kind of like DEI thing in it, where there's like lots of people. Even in the beginning of the movie, you know, this entity is like taking over the world at this point. I didn't like fully understand it. This is why I think it should have been 3 movies, because I think that the second movie was going to be about the entity like taking over everything, and then they were going to have a third movie where they had to like defeat it or whatever, but they didn't do that. So it felt very rushed. Like, this movie just kind of starts and it's like, oh, the entity's taking over everything. And there is kind of a cool message where it's like, we have to basically delete the internet to survive. And there's even like these really weird conversations. Like, I've made videos about GDP and all that. There's these like weird scenes where like, yeah, the government's like talking about, oh, if we get rid of the internet, it's going to affect the economy. It's going to affect, they even say, I think they say the GDP, they're like, it's going to affect the GDP, like stocks are going to go down. And those parts had me laughing, because I was like, yeah, this is like really how the government is. This is how they like think that they're trying to project this image of themselves to the world as if it's a good thing, but they don't realize how like cringe and out of date they are. So there's a lot of that. And then the next thing that was really cringe for me is when Ethan Hunt first jumps into the ice. This was really weird, because he was supposed to jump in the ice, and then they were supposed to find him, but it felt like they changed that whole thing. That's why this movie's also weird, because there's a lot of like exposition where they explain things, and then like it doesn't happen that way. So there's like tens of minutes of scenes that feel like they could just be X'd out of the movie. Like, you don't even need them in there. The movie could have easily been 2 hours, is basically what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, so I mentioned before, so he's in this helicopter, 2 women pilots, and then you got like a bunch of black people. There's tons of black people everywhere in this movie. Black people, a character from Mission Impossible 1 returns, and he's married to like an Eskimo woman. But that part actually, that whole character arc actually was one of the things I liked about the movie. I didn't mind the Eskimo woman marriage and all that. That was kind of a decent, you know, conclusion to a character arc that wasn't super annoying. So, but I'm just saying this to like point out like the diversity stuff. It was really pushed in this movie. The propaganda is deep, guys. And so yeah, he jumps out of the helicopter with women pilots, and he lands in the water, and these like scuba divers, submarine people, come and get him. They like save him basically, because otherwise he would have froze to death. Anyway, they take him into the submarine, and I haven't looked up the actress yet. I literally couldn't tell, guys. But there was like a literal troon in this movie. There was a literal tranny in the movie, and it was very obvious what it was. And they kept doing this thing where like Ethan Hunt was like giving her, this person, you know, her. I think it was a her, so I'm just gonna call it her, because like she had boobs. The only reason it was like she had like a really masculine jaw, so it's like I couldn't quite tell, but. You know, she had boobs, so I'm going to call her a woman. I don't know. Whatever. This whole tranny thing is exhausting at this point. So anyway, like they really emphasize this character. And this character's only in the movie for this one part. This one part where Ethan has to go down into the ice, and like it doesn't go according to plan, so he gets saved, and then they like kind of rehabilitate him for a while to get him ready to go down into the next sub, which was the whole point of the plan. He has to go down to the sub and get the entity source code from this like vault, you know, the key from the first movie, all this. As you can tell, the plot is like very MacGuffin. It's very like J.J. Abrams style. This all started in Mission Impossible 3, where they just have like just constant plot devices moving the plot forward. But which actually, one thing about Mission Impossible 3, real quick, is they do finally explain what the rabbit's foot is. So that was kind of cool. That's like a long running joke, if you guys don't know, in the Mission Impossible franchises. In the third movie, the Philip Seymour Hoffman guy, where's your wife? You got a wife? You got a girlfriend? I'm gonna find her, and I'm gonna hurt her, Ethan. what are you doing, Ethan? Just give me the rabbit's foot, Ethan. Just give me the rabbit's foot. If you guys have seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But in the movie, you never actually find out what the rabbit's foot is. It's like this radioactive thing, but nobody really knew what it was. And so they actually kind of explain what it is in this. It kind of tying it all in, like, oh, everything Ethan's done in every movie is led to this, right? They really do that. So that's a minor digression, but it was cool. But yeah, this one scene, they have this one part of the movie where Ethan is in this submarine. The captain of it is black. You got like this ginger guy, and Ethan gets attacked on a treadmill by this guy. That's another thing I forgot to mention in the movie, because it's not really done very well at all. This is why I feel like it was 2 movies and they broke it up. There's this like small theme, because they only show like 3 scenes, like very brief scenes of this. There's this small theme that like the entity has like brainwashed people and kind of like created its own religion, right? It's almost a commentary on the woke in a weird way, but it's done in like this like Mission Impossible way. So there's like this meta commentary where you see these people like talking about how like the entity is going to be the savior of mankind and all that, and this like meta theme of like, oh, these people are on the internet too much, right? They're terminally online. So that's the reason I'm saying this is Tom Cruise, he's in the submarine like rehabilitating, and this guy like attacks him, and he's one of the fanatics, and Tom Cruise is fighting him, and he makes this like stupid one-liner where he's like, you spend too much time on the internet. So obviously, you know, if you guys have seen the Batman with the Riddler, Hollywood's been trying to do this for years, really to make right-wingers look crazy. It's not to make the left look crazy, it's to make the right look crazy. They're trying to do this thing though of like, you know, the online incel, right? The online alt-right, right? These evil Trump supporters, they're all online, guys. Oh, what are we gonna do about the men, right? I just made a video about that. You'll be watching that before this video, about, you know, how the left has no answer for men. So that message is very much in this movie. It's like, what do we do with the men? Oh, they're all incels, but Ethan Hunt, he's a true man, right? Ethan Hunt is the hero man, you know. So they have that in, but other than that, like I was saying, the captain's black, and everyone's very diverse, just put it that way, so I don't have to like explain every minute detail. But it's this one character, guys. She has like a Vasquez from Aliens vibe, but see, in Aliens they didn't have the whole trans agenda back then, so like Vasquez kind of was fine. Like people were like, whatever. I've never understood the Vasquez hype, and I'm a diehard Alien fan. I don't really get why everyone likes Vasquez, but you know, it is what it is. Aliens was just a cool squad movie, right? The Squad. Come on, man, you know, the aliens, man, they're gonna come in and they're gonna kill us, man. There's my Bill Paxton for you guys. But she did have a very Vasquez vibe, but again, this character was not developed. You've never seen her before anything. And, you know, there's just all these weird scenes where, like, her and Ethan are, like, best friends or something, like, immediately. It's so weird. Again, it's you can tell that they're, like, astroturfing this trans character into this film, because he's giving her, like, these weird, like, if you guys have seen the Mission Impossibles, you know what I'm talking about. Like, Ethan's always doing these, like, yeah, I know. I love everyone, you know. But this character has not been any of the movies, so it's completely unearned. So it's just blatant propaganda. She designed the suit, right? Like he has to go down into the submarine, deeper into the ocean, and very weird overall, because he ends up like swimming to the top after the submarine just fine anyway, but he needed like this special suit to go down so that his body wouldn't explode. So none of that even made sense. That was like the one action scene of the movie that made absolutely zero sense. Even by Mission Impossible standards, you know, like, because none of these movies really make sense. They're like John Wick. You can't really judge them for the action because it's completely fake, but they make this big deal, is what I'm trying to get at. They make this big deal that this trans character made this suit that's like really advanced and able to take the extreme pressures of the ocean, right? So they just have this like weird, I don't even know how long, it's like 20 minutes of the film goes by where he's in this submarine. It's way too long, I'll say that. Like I said, there are parts in the movie where it's like, you didn't need this to go on this long. They even do with the Madam President crap, they even do the same thing that the Dark Knight did, you know, over 15 years ago now, where, you know, they're on the boat in the Dark Knight, they're on the boat, and like the inmates can push the button, or the civilians can push the button. Oh no, what do we do, guys? They have the same thing, like the entity's forcing them to choose. Either you nuke all the cities yourself, or like the entity will nuke everyone. Again, I didn't really feel like this entity thing was developed enough as far as this film goes. Like, I understand what they're getting at about technology, but this was not developed enough. It really did need a second movie. This should have been a trilogy of films. So anyway, there was the trans character, and then that was really the worst of it. Like I kind of mentioned, just throughout the entire movie, there's just a lot of this DEI stuff going on. And this is like the paradox of the film, I guess, is that you have the old, awesome Tom Cruise era stuff in the movie. Like, every moment he's on scene, for the most part, is just great. You know, like I said, Tom Cruise is a master of his class. But then just like everything else, for me, just felt flat. Other than maybe like Benji, just because Simon Pegg's Benji character, he's been around since Mission Impossible 3. So he's kind of earned it. And also, you know, Luther was in it. Oh my, what are you doing, Ethan? What you doing to me, Ethan? Ethan, you coming at me with another mission, man? Oh, I'm going to get my Gucci shoes all messy here, Ethan. So he's been in every movie. And spoiler alert, he dies in this one. He's actually the only character that died. I was expecting like all of them to die if this really was the end. Which I'll get to near the end of the movie if I actually think this is the end. But yeah, that's kind of the end of that part. I was trying to get the Hollywood part. Basically, I might even have to make a whole new video. This video might be really long, by the way. So if you guys are enjoying this and you got this far, please like and subscribe to the channel. Comment down below. I have a lot to say about this. So this could even be like my first hour-long video. I don't even know. But that's kind of the Hollywood aspect. Like, I feel like I might have to make a whole new video, a whole separate video on just Hollywood in general, like the state of Hollywood. But I think if you guys are like paying attention like me, you understand what I'm getting at with Hollywood. Like, Hollywood it's kind of over. The Hollywood era is very much over. And if it wasn't over before COVID, like COVID really just put the nail in the coffin. And, you know, actors like Tom Cruise and, you know, Nicolas Cage and these older actors, like, God bless them all. They're trying to like keep it alive, but it's just kind of over. Because, like, that was another thing. Like, when I was watching the movie, like, all of the previews were really bad. I can even mention them in order. So it started with the Jurassic Park Rebirth trailer, which that movie looks pretty good. But again, it's all about the girl bosses, right? Like, Scarlett Johansson's going to be the girl boss in this one. And this is just Hollywood now. It's, like, all about the feminism. And so that part, I can already predict Jurassic Park. It's going to be just like this movie. It's going to have awesome dinosaur scenes, monster scenes, but then all the side characters, all that stuff is going to be really bad. It's going to be just like Fallen Kingdom. Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom is a perfect example of modern Hollywood. Amazing. It's one of the underrated Jurassic Park movies. Amazing set pieces, dinosaurs, all that. I actually love the mansion, all that stuff. But the characters in that movie are insufferable. Other than maybe Chris Pratt. Like, every character I hate. I've hated all of them in the Jurassic Park. I like Chris Pratt and I like Bryce Dallas Howard. I'll say those two are fine because they're like the girl and the guy, right? The way it should be. But everything else in those Jurassic World movies, like all the side characters, are just trash. And so that's what Hollywood's doing. Again, this is getting into what I'm saying. Hollywood is they're just like bringing, like, Spider-Man. Far From Home did this, right? Tom Holland is such a terrible Spider-Man that they have to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield just to get people to get excited. And so that's the Hollywood theme I want you guys to get across here. Like, why this isn't like completely a Mission Impossible movie or movie review is that Hollywood has been suffering from this for maybe 10 years. I don't know when it started exactly, but it could have been 10 years, because 10 years ago actually was when 2015 was when, maybe 2014. 2014, 2015, that was when the first Jurassic World came back, and that was when came out. And that was when they were trying to do this thing they're doing now, where like, we're gonna make new movies, you know, like Force Awakens, right? We're gonna make new movies in these universes, but we're gonna push our woke agenda. And this is like when Hollywood began to burn, because this is like when all the millennials started getting out of college and getting into academia and film and video games, and like it just all basically started to go to shit around like 2013, 2014. And damn near every Hollywood movie, guys, has been this same story. Like any blockbuster now has been this same story. It's just been, let's bring back the old actors and introduce these new, absolutely cringe, unlikable, you know, literal woke agenda characters that serve no purpose. And then we'll just make up a new story, but it's like the same story every time, right? Like if you've seen Jurassic Park, you've seen the movie a million times. So that's kind of what I'm getting at about the Hollywood part. I hope that makes sense, because I want to put that to rest in the video going forward, because I want to kind of just talk about the movie overall from here on forward. So yeah, Hollywood is done, is basically what I'm getting at. And they're even saying too, speaking of the entity in this movie, that's another, again, that's what I want to get into when I get into the meat of the movie. But this theme of the entity is almost like something in Hollywood where they're like self-aware of this now. And I don't know how they're going to write movies going forward, because like their whole Kamala thing, the whole Kamala project, the whole COVID project didn't work. And the left has to deal with the fact that Donald Trump is their president again. So I don't know how they're going to keep writing movies going forward, like movies that are being written like this year. Like how are they going to be? We're probably not going to see them till like 2027, right? So how are they going to write them? We'll see. But there is no signs at all that Hollywood has learned its lesson, is kind of what I'm getting at. And if this continues, you know, especially with actors like Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington getting old, people aren't going to go to the theaters anymore. Like Hollywood's done. And like I was going to say about, there's like a theme of that with the entity in this, and people have talked about it, is that we're going to get to a point where people are just going to use like AI to make the movies they want. I've already seen some things on YouTube. You guys can search this up. Search up like Alien 1950s, or you can do like The Thing 1950s, Star Wars 1950s, and then just add like AI in the search. And people are like making trailers of movies from the past, but they're using AI to make the women like really attractive. And it's like really, it's actually pretty awesome, to be completely honest. In a way that Hollywood's not ready for. And again, I think that this movie's kind of telling on itself. Like this movie's plot is very, very thick in this entity, right? And again, the story's extremely cliche. These people are not Christians. They don't believe in God. This is like Reddit tier level writing. I'm not saying all this to be like, it's so brilliant. Oh, the entity. Oh. I'm pointing it out to show you that like Hollywood's panicking. They know that AI is going to take their jobs. Like quite literally, they know that their era is almost over. And so in this movie, like AI's the bad guy, and you know the tech bros are the bad guy. And I even kind of agree with them. I think if the tech bros like the Peter Thiels get their way, it will be a really terrible future. I just don't think they're going to get their way. I think that the world, as I've said in the past, the future is going to be more right wing, and the world is kind of getting back to reality. Like we're not going to have the luxuries to have these like vast beliefs anymore. And so, yeah, that's the Hollywood segment. And then just to get into the movie. So yeah, the entity itself was, again, it was an interesting concept throughout the two movies. But like I said, it didn't feel complete. It should have been 3 movies. And in this movie, it was really hard to be like afraid of it, because it essentially was just Skynet without Terminators. In Skynet, you have Skynet, right? It's like this overarching AI, but Skynet sends Terminators out to kill people. In this movie, there's nothing like that. It's just that it like starts locking down all the cities, and you know, it's very truthful in that. It's kind of showing you how like if technology completely takes over, it would be like absolute hell to live in that society, because then they could just like, ID. It was like Minority Report. Tom Cruise does this a lot. Like if you've seen Oblivion that he did, Minority Report. Tom Cruise has made a lot of movies actually about the dangers of technology. So this was just like another movie in that vein. But the whole concept of it was interesting, but it just wasn't done well enough. But again, what I was getting out of it is that Hollywood is panicking because, you know, for one, they can't control MAGA, whatever that means anymore, right? I don't even think MAGA is that big of a threat. I always make the joke, like I actually wish Trump was as based as the left thinks he is. But anyway, the left is dealing with that, right? They're in their emotions. They're all in their emotions about the Trump problem. And then obviously they don't know what to do with young men. And this is why I don't think they've learned their lesson, because essentially what this movie shows is like they want men to be like Ethan Hunt. They want men to just go out and like do all these masculine things, do these missions without any payoff, right? Like we're just doing it because we want to save the world. And that's basically what Ethan Hunt's character arc is in every movie. He doesn't even get a wife by the end of this. He gets really nothing. And in the older movies, it was kind of like I didn't really notice it as much because, you know, we didn't live in the Great Awakening yet. But now I really notice it's like, yeah, this is like what Hollywood wants from men. They want women to be able to be independent girl bosses with no children and no commitment to family. But then on the other side, they want men to be completely okay with that and just go out and be men and be cogs and build society, right? It's like women are like, we understand that you build society and we understand that we as women have a part to play, but like we don't want to play that part anymore. So can you just like not be toxic and just like be a man and just go out and like shoulder this burden, please? And so again, this ties into the left has no answer for masculinity. They have no answer for men. They're going to completely flop and fail. The right wing also has no answer to men because you have these like Megyn Kelly, Tommy Lauren harpies on that side as well. So I've already talked about this in previous videos, but that's ever present in this movie as well. So again, the entity, that's the topic I'm on right now. The entity, to me, cool concept. I'm fine with it. Not fleshed out enough because there needed to be another movie. But the overall impression I got was Hollywood is panicking because of AI, essentially. Technology is going to outpace Hollywood. And Hollywood's going to be done. I really think it. Like, as soon as actors like Tom Cruise, you know, leave this earthly coil, Hollywood's irrelevant. If not already. And then the other aspect of the movie that was very interesting was, it was interesting, but again, it's like it's always in this like Reddit tier level, but there was a lot of flashbacks in this movie, guys. Like it was very cool to see that. Like I'm a pretty big Mission Impossible fan, so I've seen all the movies like multiple times. And I think if you haven't, a lot of it will be lost on you, but I think he did a good job. Like I was very skeptical. I remember reading reviews about how this one's very nostalgic. It's going to have a lot of flashbacks, and like I said, I think the exposition parts are really bad, but the way that they do the flashbacks, the way that they tie characters from the old movies into the new movies, the way that they have this like overarching theme of like everything Ethan did in the past movies kind of led him to this point. It's a very like, they'll never say it because they're not religious, but it's a very like Calvinist perspective. But again, Hollywood likes to do this, right? They like to play like that, like everything is fate. Terminator does this all the time, right? So they like to say that like, oh, it's fated, right? John Connor has to lead the revolution. You know, the Terminators know this. And so they're going to send back Terminators in time because if you just killed John Connor, you stop it, right? It's a very like predetermination Calvinist view. But then Hollywood also likes to be like, oh, and they do this in Terminator, and they literally did this in this Mission Impossible movie. They like to be like, oh no, but we also control our fate, right? So they go to the more Christian way, the more like traditional Christian view of like we actually have free will as well. So it's like they say like, oh, we're fated to, this outcome is fated, but also we can choose. So it doesn't make sense. It's always in Hollywood, though. This is like, they want to have their cake and eat it too with this kind of thing, because they don't want to commit. Liberalism can't really commit to its ideology, because if it does, it'll have to admit that it's not really liberalism. It's just a relentless pursuit of power. And that's also a theme in this movie, actually. There's like scenes in this movie where they're going to put the entity on this little like flash drive, and whoever holds it is going to have all the power. Almost very Lord of the Rings. I was getting that vibe. Like when they put it on the flash drive, it's like glowing yellow, and she gives it, spoiler alert, she gives it to Tom Cruise at the end. Haley Atwell's character gives it to Tom Cruise at the end, and the movie kind of ends where now he has the entity. Ethan Hunt has the entity, guys, and he kind of just like looks at the camera and walks off. So, but I'll save that for the end. That's the last thing I'm going to talk about as far as overall the movie. But yeah, the nostalgia was very well done. There was Luther did die, but it was actually done in a pretty cool way. Like he died, he's like the hacker guy in all the movies, and they call him Phineas Freak in the first movie, and he says that line in this. He's like, the villain's name is Gabriel. He's like, Gabriel thought he could defeat Phineas Freak. Ethan, it's not gonna happen, Ethan. You'll get out of these tunnels. I'm gonna defuse this bomb. So he had a good ending, and he also he had like a message at the very end of the movie when Tom Cruise like puts the key to the other key, right? The MacGuffin to the MacGuffin. It like plays a message, a final message, and it's not a very good message. It's just a liberalism message, but it's just cool that they kind of tied it all up. And then the other guy it's the guy from Mission Impossible 1, the guy that was in the room when he was doing like the rappel down, right? When he was stealing the knock list and he was trying to do the mission from the first movie. They brought the guy back, and because the hack happened, all this, the guy basically got ejected from the CIA, and he had to go live in this like remote Eskimo village, but he like met his wife. So that, like I said, that whole arc I thought was done very well. It didn't even bother me, because he even says like Ethan like apologized to him, but he's like, what do you have to apologize for? Like, I ended up meeting my wife because of what happened. And he became like more of like a conspiracy theorist type. And again, he's written like the typical leftist man. He's like a very polite man, blah blah, but you could clearly tell like what they're trying to say is this guy became a truther. He started to like research things, and basically everything that happened because of the knock list, because of Ethan stealing the knock list, like ended up working out in his favor. And so that was very well done. And then you have Kittredge. He was in Dead Reckoning, but he comes back in this, and he's all that was great. So what I'm getting at is there's going to be a lot of nostalgia in this movie, but it's all very well done, especially if you're a Tom Cruise fan, and especially if you've been paying attention to all the Mission Impossibles. Like it's all great. The only thing I hated, like I said, if this really is the end, he didn't end up with Haley Atwell, so he doesn't get a wife, he doesn't get anything really. And again, that's just the stupid leftist writing. Like, I don't even think he kissed her in the movie. That's something that I'm noticing that's happening a lot in Hollywood now, is that men and women won't kiss each other anymore. There's no like, you just can't have like heterosexuality at all in movies anymore. It's just annoying. They basically do this though, because again, this character that married the Eskimo woman, they pay lip service to it during the movie, like, that's my wife, but you never really see them kiss. You never see them embrace or do anything. I'm not even talking about sex. I'm just like, something to show that you're married to this person, right? Just like a normal human behavior. It's like they can't do it because the left has ceded so much ground on this issue that they don't even know what genders are anymore. They don't even know what, because of all the Coomer brain, right? They don't want to commit to these things now, because everything's fluid now. Everything's a spectrum, right? It's just gay. The best way to put it is it's just gay, and it's annoying. It's always going to be annoying. So nostalgia's done well, but yeah, there's going to be that annoyance because it's Hollywood product. And then to kind of wrap this up, this is going to be the last thing I'm going to talk about. But yeah, the last thing I was going to talk about was this was supposed to be the last movie, right? So they really hyped it up like this is the last movie. It's going to be the most insane movie ever. And like I said before, there's some great stunts in here. I don't think it's the best stunts in the series, but they're very impressive. The plane stunt at the end, very good. Kind of funny too. Like the way Gabriel died is actually kind of funny. A lot of people were criticizing that, but I didn't mind it because Gabriel himself wasn't a very great villain. Because again, this felt like it should have been 3 movies. There should have been more build-up than this. So for what this is, pretty awful story, but amazing stunts, action scenes. And again, this movie was hyped up by Tom Cruise himself, that by the title itself, right? This is the final reckoning. It's going to be the end of the movie. This is the end of the Mission Impossible franchise as far as Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise goes. And then, you know, obviously they're going to probably try to do like feminist spin-offs because John Wick's already doing that with Ballerina. I saw that preview as well. But what they're going to try to do basically is what they did, not what they're going to try to do. What they did is that they ended it, but they didn't end it, which is kind of what I thought they were going to do. I basically went in the movie thinking, like, if they don't kill Ethan Hunt's character, then this isn't really over, because it leaves the door open where if like 3-4 years down the road, if Tom Cruise wants to do another one, he can do it. And they even ended it in a way where, like, feels like he almost has to do it, because like I said, at the very end of the movie, they trap this entity thing. The whole movie's about this, but they put all the MacGuffins together and they trap the entity in this like glowy hard drive thing that Luther invented apparently. And when it's trapped, it's like glowing yellow. So it's implying that, again, there's a lot of like Christianity in this movie, but they don't. It's just cringe and Reddit tier. There's a lot of Christian themes, but it's just not well done, right? There's a lot of like biblical doomsday, like you could say Zionist, you know, doomsday. The whole world's gonna get nuked, Zionist kind of crap. But again, very Reddit tier. If you want to know the level, the quality of writing, it's very Reddit tier, very millennial. Just not intelligent writing. But Ethan Hunt gets this entity, and Haley Atwell like gives it to him at the end, and she kind of like smiles and walks off. And so now Ethan Hunt like looks at the camera and like walks off into the crowd, like kind of like Assassin's Creed style, you know. But that ending to me is not a finality type ending. That hints that like Ethan Hunt has the entity now, and somebody's gonna come looking for it, right? It's almost like he's Bilbo now. It really did have like a Lord of the Rings theme in that regard. Like he has the One Ring now. He has the power of this entity that we don't know if he's going to destroy it or not. I mean, I guess they could end it that way. Like it's just this vague thing that we never know. But the problem is I know that they're going to make more Mission Impossible products. They're going to make probably more. They're going to try to do like TV shows and, you know, movies without Tom Cruise essentially, but they're not going to be, it's not going to be the same. So yeah, like that's kind of it, guys. Like the way that it ended, it could be the ending, but it also doesn't feel like the ending. And I think that they left it open for that reason. They left it open just enough to where if Tom Cruise wants to come back and do another movie, the door's open for him. But then also if they want to just say Ethan Hunt went off, they could like write a thing about, oh yeah, Ethan went off with the entity and like nobody knows where he is, right? He completely finally disappeared and nobody knows where he is. So that's what I meant about bittersweet. To me, it didn't feel like a final movie because it should have been 3 movies, but also just I knew they weren't going to kill him. It just felt like if you kill him, it's kind of it was, again, we go back to Batman, the Christopher Nolan Batmans. When The Dark Knight Rises was being hyped up, everybody thought like Batman was going to die, but they kind of ended with him retiring as Batman. So they kind of did that with Mission Impossible as well, but again, it doesn't actually seem like he's retired at all. He just does the same thing he does at the end of every Mission Impossible movie. He like meets his team again, you know, they all kind of like look at each other from the crowd and they all kind of disperse and walk off. So there was no sense of this is over, but at the same time it was done well enough to where it could be over because they just won't add anything else to Ethan's story. So yeah, that's kind of the video. I don't know what I'm going to title this. I probably just will title it Mission Impossible Final Reckoning Review, because it was a long video. If you guys have watched this whole thing, I really appreciate it, but it was just a bittersweet movie. If I had to rate it, I would probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I do think it's the worst Mission Impossible, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, it's the worst because I can clearly tell that they had a plan. They had a story arc for 3 movies, like I keep saying, and they just weren't able to do that for whatever reason. And probably just because it's Hollywood is sinking and burning. They can't get the funding anymore. And so they, you know, it's just bad luck, basically. It's bad timing on Tom. It's not really Tom Cruise's fault. It's just that Hollywood and society and politics and everything is all just so woke and gay and lame now that we can't just make awesome movies anymore. That's really the bottom line, guys. We can't make awesome things anymore because we live in this stupid feminist DEI, you know, clown world now. And so they got to like make sure that they have all this inclusion and they have all this crap and they just all these check boxes, right? Everything's an HR department now. And so ultimately it has held back this movie from being as great as it should be. If this is indeed the final Mission Impossible movie, it should have been absolutely epic. I always say to people, like, if you want to see like a true finality to a movie, just go watch Return of the King with Lord of the Rings. That's how it's done, because that was before Hollywood went completely lame. And in many ways, we're probably never going to get a movie like Lord of the Rings ever again anyway, because Hollywood's not even capable of making that now. And so, yeah, that's basically how I feel about Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. I'd like to hear what you guys think about it. If you guys watched this whole video, you guys are awesome. I love you guys. If you're new as well, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below, and yeah, let me know what you guys think about this Final Reckoning, what you guys think about the Mission Impossible movies as a whole, what you guys think about my meta-analysis, right, about Tom Cruise being, he's representative of the dying breed of action movie stars, and really just masculinity in general. It's not going to be like this anymore because they're just going to keep pushing this feminist women crap until Hollywood crumbles. So that's the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you on the next one.